How cheating on my husband with one of his best friends saved our marriage? Many friends told me that I was the happiest woman in the world for having married one of the most desired single men in town by all single and married women. A handsome, intelligent, charismatic man, owners of one of the most important car sales businesses in the city, who always drives the luxurious car of the year, and wears the most expensive suits of the season. In a short word, he is a rich man and behaves as such. A marriage similar to a fairy tale that your parents tell you when you were a little girl, but, as an adult, that princess felt like a lonely bird locked in a cage with golden bars. A bird who was only good at singing the same song and decorating the house of its owner. But, knowing all the good qualities of this perfect man, father of two beautiful girls, why did I end up cheating on him with another man? It is the central plot of this story. Maybe you will ask me the following questions before the revelation that having the perfect husband, I cheated on him with another man. My marriage with him was for money? He married me because he saw me not as a wife, but as a possession? My husband did not please me in bed? The answers to each of these questions, I could say no to all, with the exception of one of them, which will be centered on this story of deception and lies by a woman. Even having it all, she felt alone, sad, used and ignored. Something you should know: I married my husband because I loved him. I am sure that my husband married me because he liked me as a woman. My husband, whenever I asked him, he pleased me in bed. But, something that I must accept is that my husband for some reason over time began to see me more as one of his possessions, as another trophy, a woman who was the mother of his two girls. Perhaps that was one of the reasons why I cheated on my husband with one of his best friends. Because as a woman, who in a moment of loneliness, sadness, confusion, and vulnerability I cheated on my husband, trying to find in sex the way to fill the immense emotional emptiness that I had at that moment from living with an emotionally distant husband, a man who is educated to be good in business, but lousy when it comes to love. As a wife I thought I had it all, but that emptiness that existed in me, many times kept me awake at night, because I felt that for my husband I was an invincible woman, someone who was in the house as a simple ornament. Many times when I had a conversation with some of my girlfriends, when they talk about their husbands, they always say that their husbands put their hands all over their bodies, something that I envy, because it's something that I wanted my husband to do with me, as a sign that I was an attractive woman to take to bed, not because I was the mother of his children. I envied the type of intimate and effective relationship that my girlfriends had with their husbands. Some recommended that I buy that type of sexy nightwear that left nothing to the imagination, to motivate my husband to see me not only as the mother of his children, but as an attractive woman who wants her man to make love to her. But, when I use sexy clothes as a way to seduce my husband, most of the time he asked, what was the reason for wearing such daring sexy clothes? Many times, I replied that sometimes he ignored my needs as a woman, who wants to make love to her husband. He simply told me that he felt exhausted by the enormous work he had in business that day. There were many times that he promised me that the following night, we would spend a romantic night alone without the hassles of the girls, who sometimes entered the room and slept with us. Which, when we were both in the mood to have sex, the sudden presence of the girls asking us to read them a story, was like a cold water bath that killed the desire to make love. Like any sexually disoriented woman who was hungry for some kind of affection from her husband, the feelings and fears about a possible infidelity of my husband with another woman, was something that did not leave my mind. But, knowing my husband, I concluded that for working hard on his business, was where he put all his energy and attention. My husband was a workaholic who didn't understand that his family should be his priority, not his business. For my husband, all available time was not dedicated to his daughters, and his wife was dedicating to his work. Some of my friends, who were in the same position as me financially, as a way of having a good time, and letting the frustration of being the wife of rich men embitter her life, they play different kind of games, talk about gossip, and always trying to have a good time. Many times I think that many of them were going through the same situation as me, but they did not care. As long as the husband paid for all his expenses, extravagance of the expensive party, traveling to the most expensive tourist destinations, mansions with rooms that they never use, a nanny who takes care of the children, and buying the clothes of the most recognized brands. But for me all that was something superficial, because I wanted the attention and loving husband. One of my friends suggested a place where we could have a good time, where there were always handsome, elegant, intelligent and sexy men who could keep us company so that we wouldn't feel alone. But, also, if as a woman, you wanted them, they could please any type of sexual fantasy that you as an unsatisfied wife could not please. My response to my friend's proposal was no, because I was not the type of woman who cheated on her husband. She told me, think about it, it's an adventure that no one will know, only you and the man you choose. Looking into my eyes, she told me, believe me, you are the type of woman who has an idealistic image of marriage and love. When you have money, love is secondary, and let's not talk about the sacrament of marriage, something that many women and men with money do not take so seriously. There are many rich women, who when their husbands do not please them sexually, husbands who prefer to buy her an expensive ring than to make love to her. It is a type of game that you have not learned to play until now. Remember, most of us only possessions of our husbands, trophies that can be shown to their business friends, but, deep down how we feel, is not something that matters to them. Perhaps that is why many of the women you see in this place cheat on their husbands as a way of getting back at them. The times that they have been ignored, humiliated, used, deceived and bought by their husbands with expensive gifts, so that the wives keep their mouths closed and maintain the false image of a happy marriage. If you think that you are the only woman, who is ignored by her husband in bed, you are very wrong. Why do you think these wives of people with money meet in a place like this? Many of them are trying to fill that void that exists when you are only considered, as one more possession of your husband to fill his ego as a successful man. If your husband does not please you in bed or ignores your emotional needs for a woman who want to make love to him, there is not much you can do, other than looking outside the house for what you do not find inside it. If your husband doesn't fill your sexual needs, it's time for you to find a way to fill it with another man. For some reason what my friend was telling me makes some sense, but, I believe that cheating on my husband with another man would not be the solution to my problems of feeling ignored by my husband. I don't want to go to bed with any man, I just want my husband to fill my needs as a woman. My girlfriend told me, many men with money, only get pleasure when they do some kind of business that produces money, and the pleasure of sleeping with a woman takes a back seat. It is something that you as a woman must understand. If you expect your husband to fulfill your affective needs and at the same time working hard 24/7, so that you have the lifestyle that you have, it is asking a lot from a man. Something that many of my friends understood and learned to look elsewhere for that love, and that special attention that their husbands cannot give to them. At that precise moment, for some reason a handsome man, educated in the way he speaks and dressed like a gentleman with good taste in the type of suit he wears, simply apologized for interrupting the conversation and greeted my friend with an affectionate hug. My best friend introduced me to her male friend and she introduced me as a courtesy between friends. When I told her my name and I was married, my friend's male friend replied that she knew my husband, since they had done some business together in the past. No one doubts that this man, apart from being well educated, is also an attractive and highly intelligent man, but, it also seems that he has money because of the type of suit he is wearing at the time. Out of politeness, he apologized for the interruption and left after several minutes for us to continue the conversation. For some reason my girlfriend, despite the fact that she is a married woman, stared at the friend she had just introduced me to, telling me silently there is no doubt that this man is extremely attractive, but above all he is rich and single. Playing with my girlfriend, I told her in a mocking tone, "Remember that you are a married woman." She answered me, "It is only a compliment when you are in front of an attractive man. Besides, that type of man will never notice a woman like me." My girlfriend asked me, "What do you think of that gentleman I introduced you to? Would you dare to spend a night of passion with him if you weren't married?" My response with a smile was, "It's possible, yes, but I've never been a woman who looked for a one-night standards with a man, much less cheating on my husband with one of his friends." My girlfriend told me in a teasing tone, "That's your problem, my dear, you take life too seriously. Maybe that's why you've never had a night of wild sex in your life. Maybe you have to stop seeing things so seriously to put a little spice in your life, especially when you have a moment of passion with your husband. Perhaps, what you need is to have a night of passion with someone other than your husband as the male friend, who introduces you, so that you can know what it really feels like when someone desires your body and wanted to make love to you all night, someone who dreams of making love to you and does not lose the opportunity to enjoy all the pleasure that you can offer as a woman to a man who appreciates you." Listening to my friend and what she was saying, thinking about how attractive her friend was, I simply replied, "Maybe you're right, I should look for in another man what my husband doesn't want to give me." After listening to my friend, who gave me some tips on how to seduce your husband in bed, for some reason I felt quite excited to try the advice that my friend gave me. As always, after spending a nice time with the girls playing, I received a phone call from my wife, telling me not to wait for him awake, because he would be late at home, because at the last minute, he had to attend a business meeting out of town. Moment before, listening to my husband, I was excited to have a night of passion with my husband, using the seduction tips that my girlfriends taught me. After listening to my husband's phone call, as always, I lay in bed with that feeling of disappointment, with mixed feelings, and furious but above all rejected, but also, because I had in me the thought that my husband did not care about my feelings, something that produces in me a deep pain. As always he apologized to me for being late, something he didn't notice, because he didn't wake me up when I got home. I told him everything that I had prepared for us to spend a night full of passion together. He apologized for not being available the night before, and promised me that tonight he would take the time, as a way of rewarding me for what I spent the night before. As an understanding wife, I simply gave him a kiss on the cheek, telling him, "Don't forget that apart from being the mother of your children, I am also a woman, who needs her man to make love to her. I know, dear, I promise you that tonight everything will be different." He took me in his arms, and he gave me that kind of passionate kiss that I would have wanted last night. My husband, as always, he has moments when he is on and there are moments when he is off. The problem is that with me he is mostly off. But, knowing my husband, that promise that tonight would be different, was something that did not excite me, Therefore in my body and my mind that illusion that we will have a night of passion was not part of me. As a way to avoid feeling once again rejected as a woman, at night as a way to distract myself, I spent the whole time playing with the girls, with that feeling of desperation in me, asking myself, what would my answers be, if my husband uses another excuse to not spend a night of passion with me? Product of loneliness, I took the girls to bed to sleep, and for some reason, I started drinking wine, as a way to fill that emotional void of woman that you have, when you feel that for your man you don't exist, and your needs as a woman they are not taken into account. After a long wait, I decided to go to bed. When my husband came home, it was something I didn't notice, because either I was sound asleep or the effects of the wine neutralized my body. In the morning, I noticed the presence of my husband with me, taking advantage of the fact that he was asleep. I took a good shower as a way to start the day. My husband noticed that I was not next to him in bed. Perhaps he assumed that I was angry for not keeping his promise to spend a night of passion with me. I didn't feel angry, I felt disappointed. I felt like a woman who gave up on her husband. As a woman there is no worse feeling when you do not feel appreciated, desired, and needed, by your man, the father of your children, by your husband, who swears to love you and respect you all his life in that special moment when they are at the altar. In my particular case, the way my husband treats me makes me feel worthless. For several days the idea that, there is not much I can do to make my husband pay attention to me as a woman, is something that dominates my thoughts. In a lonely moment looking for something to change my mood, I called my girlfriend on the phone and told her what was happening to me, because my husband promised something and never kept it. In short word, I was not happy in my marital relationship with my husband. After she heard all my emotional release about the marital crisis that I was going through, my girlfriend as a way to cheer me up, so, that I would not feel so low, as a way to change the attention on what was weighing me down, she told me with a certain joy, "You remember that friend of mine, that I introduced you to several days ago?" My answer was yes, I remember him. She asked me, "What do you think of him as a man, do you find him attractive?" Answering to her, "He doesn't look bad." Days after he met you, he called to ask me about you, about your life, about your relationship with your husband. Which many of those questions I didn't answer, because it would be an indiscretion on my part to tell a man about my friend's marital situation. He told me, that he would like to meet you, because he finds you an extremely attractive and intelligent woman. I asked him in a spicy tone, "Don't tell me that you like my friend?" He replied, "I like the woman I saw that day, I hope her husband appreciates what he has. A woman that any man would do anything to have by her side." In a nutshell, my friend, it seems that you made a good impression on him, I think he likes you. At that moment, when I would have liked these words to have been said by my husband, not by a stranger, who barely remembers his name. My friend looking me in the eyes, then she asked me, "Do you really think that your husband values you as a woman?" My answer was, "Right now I don't think so." So what is stopping you from seeking happiness and pleasure with another man that your husband doesn't give you? I really don't know what answer I can give you. If you wish, I can make the two of you get together in a quiet place out of sight of people, as a way for you to discover, if you are really willing to continue with your life without your husband, and find a man who really loves you. A man that makes you feel that you are alive and that you are the most important thing in his life. After listening to my girlfriend, maybe she is right in what she is saying. Several days later, on a Saturday afternoon, My friend's girlfriend is waiting for me in a small restaurant outside the city. A quiet place, with romantic music, where couples meet in this place, simply to talk and enjoy good food, and listen to good music. For the first time, I lied to my husband about meeting up with one of my best friends and talking about old times, not knowing that I was having a romantic date with another man behind his back. Can this romantic date with a man other than my husband could be considered the first step in cheating on my husband with one of his friends? I honestly don't know, but it's a question that's on my mind, and it bothers me to know the answer. For some reason I felt extremely nervous, worried, anxious, like those inexperienced teenage girls, who meet the boy she likes for the first time. He was sitting at one of the side tables wearing an impeccable blue suit that very few men can wear. With a smile he greeted me, approached me, and invited me to sit at a table reserved for him. He simply asked me what I wanted to drink, and as a sign of shyness, I told him that a glass of wine would be enough. For some reason, at that moment, all his attention was focused on me and my attention was focused on him. For some reason the image of husband was lost at that moment. A moment in which I felt flattered, wanted, desired and appreciated, something I had not felt for a long time. After a good conversation, where I could feel the chemistry between the two of us, after an hour after the meal, we went to the bar area, where that exquisite music that every woman in love wants to hear was part of the bar atmosphere. When he took my hand as a sign of dancing, without thinking, my body and mind came together in that magical moment in which I felt that I was the most loved and desired woman in the world, treated like a princess. When he put his arm around my waist during the dance and we danced to the rhythm of the music, he said quietly in my ears, "You are the most beautiful and charming woman I have known for a long time." For some reason the tears came out from my eyes, because they were words that I had wanted to hear for a long time, from the lips of my husband. For some reason, the confusion took control of my mind, thousands of images came to my thought, about my girls, and my husband. My knees began to fail me, my eyes could not control the tears. I could not contain the enormous amount of emotions issues that I was controlling at the time. I felt like a dirty, despicable, low, false woman who, as a result of selfishness, was going to do something that she would regret all her life before her daughters, her family and her society. Something inside me told me, your husband may have failed you as a wife in your time of need, but that is not enough to fail him as a wife and mother of her daughters. Cheating on my husband with another man, something he didn't deserve from me. For some reason, the confusion took control of my body, thousands of images came to my mind, about my girls, and my husband. My knees began to fail me, my eyes could not control the tears, I couldn't contain the enormous amount of emotions issues that I was controlling at the time. I felt like a dirty, despicable, low, false woman who, as a result of selfishness, was going to do something that she would regret all her life before her daughters, her family and her society. Something inside me told me, your husband may have failed you as a man in your time of need, but that is not enough to fail him as a wife, as a woman and mother of her daughters. The man I was dancing with, who was not my husband, looking me in the eye, took out his handkerchief and told me, your husband doesn't know what a great woman you are. I just told him quietly, thank you for understanding me, but cheating on my husband with another man will never be part of the story of my life. At that critical moment in my life, as a result of my insecurity as a woman, I discovered that I still loved my husband with all my soul, and that while there is love for your man, giving up is not an option, much less cheating on him with another man. I ran out of the restaurant thanking a stranger, someone I barely knew, by showing me that I was still a beautiful, attractive woman, admired by other men. I got home, hugged my 2 girls and kissed my husband as a sign that I still loved him with all my heart. My husband asked me what was happening to me, and I told him that he should forgive me for not understanding the meaning of being a family. Crying in her arms, that I needed his forgiveness, because I had failed him as a wife, that perhaps he would never trust me again. I told him what I had done and why I had done it. My husband, looking me in the eye, I did not feel hate, anger, distrust or disappointment with me. He simply told me, "Maybe, I am partly to blame for pushing the situation on you. On that side, it is me who should ask for your forgiveness." My husband told me with words of encouragement and understanding, "Lately I have not been a husband who pays attention to the needs of his wife, the mother of his children. But, I promise you, that from now on I will try to be for you, that man that you are looking for and sometimes you cannot find." For some reason, that night my husband and I made love as if it were the first time, where the passion of the moment was the music that accompanied every movement between 2 bodies that wanted to be together, in that special moment. The day after that night of passion with my husband, the next morning my husband, the girls and we went to that special place that we have been postponing for months due to my husband's lack of time. That kind of adventure, camping in forests where you only hear the song of the birds, the sound of the river, the smell of the trees, and the voices of my daughter and her husband playing together. If you like this kind of love story, please leave your comments and subscribe. Thanks for your attention.